In this step, we're going to be teaching Lore where our API server is. And to do that, we need to first discuss configuration. At the root of your project is a folder called config. And if you open that up, you're going to see a list of files. The file we're going to be interested in this step is called models. And this file basically is where you specify the majority of the server interactions that are common across your application. So for example, the API root is the field we're going to be interested in, and this is where you specify your default API server. Pluralize is a property that lets you tell Lore if your endpoint is /tweets or /tweet. Some different API servers use different pluralization conventions. There's also a field that you can use to pass headers along. So if you need to pass a token for authorization or any kind of information that the server needs through a header, you can set that here. And parse is another useful method that you can use to transform the data that comes from the server before you use it in your application. You're also going to notice that there is a folder called env, and it has a couple files in it by default for development and production. So oftentimes when you are creating production applications, you're deploying to different servers. So you might have a production server, a development server, a staging server, and the configurations that you're going to need for your application are different based on every environment you deploy to. So in Lore, this is a concept that is addressed in multiple places in the framework, is this need to adapt its behavior based on where your code is deployed. And so your final configuration in Lore is a combination of the default configuration from the files at the root of the config folder, plus any environment-specific overrides. So with that, let's switch over to code and set our API server. To set your API server, you're going to open up the config directory and click on models. And what we're interested in is this first property here for API root. So what this property is looking for is just your API server, the root location of your server. So if we look at the API server we have running, it runs on localhost 1337. And on this, we have different endpoints. There's a tweets endpoint and a users endpoint, but the root of the server is located here at localhost 1337. Sometimes you'll have API servers that may have like a /API route, and then tweets would hang off of that. And in that case, your API root is going to be the path that includes /API. So what Lore is really asking is, what is the URL that I can start appending these routes to that would be accurate? And so we don't have a /API in this case. We just have localhost 1337. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to uncomment API root, and I'm going to paste that in place. And so with this set, Lore now knows where our API server is. So in the next step, we'll create some models and start communicating with the server.